And something, again, I've been saying this like every time, but like something unlocks in your heart when you do this. It's spiritual. Like it's just like it's something crazy happens, and you just, well, first of all, you have this breathing room. Everything,
oh my goodness,
gets easier because you don't have to make decisions right away. When I get paid, I don't need that money for at least 30 days. For me, it's actually 60 days because I like to be 2 months ahead, right? Just think about that.
How you make it, how you wanna make it, how you make it.
you are not alone.
No, you are not. All right, today, Ernie, we're talking about 7 habits that quickly changed our money forever. So these are like big, very YNAB things that made a really big difference. Not like small little things. These are like big shifts, right?
Big shifts. And that's why I put the word quickly in there. Not that it happens right away,
Right.
but like once you get it, things change. You
Yeah,
know,
and I don't think like you get all this when you first start YNAB most of the time. Like some of these
Right.
take years to really kind of fall into place. And so I hope a lot of folks watching, even if you've been using YNAB for years, you might not be doing all this stuff, and it might shift your mindset a little bit, make a big difference.
and once those things do fall into place, it's like, oh my goodness, my
Yeah.
personal finances are radically different now. So, you know, I wasn't trying to be clickbaity at all with that title. Like legit, I believe these can quickly change people's money.
Okay. All right. Well, before we get into it, I need to give a van update because in the episode that just launched for us, but it was a few episodes back for y'all, it was the anniversary episode. I talked a little bit about how my mechanic called right before we recorded and said my van is not great. So I wanted to give a little update about that, and I made some choices.
Okay,
so
fill us in.
Because people like the sagas. Somebody commented, they were like, "Oh yeah, we had the refrigerator saga, we had the water bill saga."
Right.
Now we got Ben's van saga.
Yeah,
so that's what we're
and
doing.
that refrigerator saga, that was like years, it felt
that
like.
was-
So, yeah.
it was long.
Hopefully the van, is kind of, you can put an end to this soon.
I think well, it'll be like 6 months. So okay, so to update you, so the mechanic called and was like, it's decision time about this van. And I have a 2005 Toyota Sienna, old reliable car. It's been great, going 20 years. It's got 205,000 miles on it.
I love Toyota Siennas. I have
Yeah.
one.
It's a good
so
van.
good. They're so good.
Yeah, I love it. So, but it has alignment problems. I have to change the tires. It's like if it's like once a year. It feels like even less.
Whoa.
Like it's bad. And part of it is it always has alignment problems. It's just like a thing with Siennas. But like, my wife bumped a curb one time and things got weird, and it's never. I've done a lot of work to get the alignment right, but it's just never. It's never gonna be the same.
Yeah.
So there's that, and it's got oil leaks, and then it just needs like a timing belt, and I won't bore you with all the details, but basically it needs like $3,000 of work, and the tires are constantly. I have to rotate it like every 6 weeks, and the tires are constantly wearing out. So it's just like, So I was like, okay, well, I could do this like $3,000 of work and keep it going. And my mechanic's like, yeah, you could totally keep it going. He's like, he believes in like keeping these vans going forever.
Yep.
But I think it's time to put it out to pasture. So
Okay.
and like we're not like totally committed. So Caitlin like doesn't want. She just doesn't. She doesn't want anything to do with it. She doesn't care about cars. She doesn't want to buy new cars. She's like, it's never a priority for her, right? We do have a category where we're just constantly saving for the next car.
Yep.
But we often rate it when there's something. We haven't rated it in a long time, but in years past, we've taken money from that when we've had a higher priority. So it's got a good chunk of change. It's got like $3,000 or $4,000 in it.
Okay.
Which is a lot. But if we want a new van, and a new van will be like a 2015. So we're gonna get like a 10-year-old van instead of a 20-year-old van, and it's very exciting.
Yep.
I think it might even have like an aux cable. That would be cool. Like I remember back in the day, I was talking about how like, oh yeah, I have to like do this thing with you have like the radio station.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you like Bluetooth the radio station to your phone, and somebody's like, oh, you can get one that like connects to your aux cable, and I was like, aux cable? This is 2005. There's no aux cables. But I got a tape deck in my van, man.
Oh wow. Yeah, so you'll have the aux cable. You'll also still have a CD player. You won't have the cassette player though.
Right, I won't have the cassette player, which is fine. I don't think the cassette player works anymore, and yeah, there's all these quirks. Anyways, I'm excited about the little amenities, because 2015,
Totally.
you can have all these amenities. So, you ever like rent a car and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in the future.
Right.
Like I rented a car with Apple CarPlay. CarPlay. That's the thing. I rented a car with that, and I was like, this is amazing. Anyway, so yeah, I'll probably look into something like that. So we're gonna say for like 6 months, should be able to get the money for that.
Okay.
I think it might even be shorter. We'll see. And yeah, we'll see. So but like, oh yeah, back to like where we were, where Caitlin's like, she's like, okay, well, I was like, why don't we just like, she didn't want to make a decision, and I was just like, okay, why don't we just like plan like we'll save until December and see how we feel. And she's like, okay.
Yep.
And then she was like, throw all the extra money at the van category. So that's what we're doing. And I think we're going to end up there, but like we haven't really like decided, but we're going to save money for it. So
okay. Well, cool. That's exciting. But boy, there is so much more that's going to unfold because that's a lot of time between now and December. You never know what's going to happen. You might get there and be like, we still got some life in this van.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Or
because I'll either use the money that we've saved up or some of it to just fix it up and get it, working great, and it could last us. My mechanic's like, he's like, this could go another 100,000 miles, and it really could.
Yeah.
So, but if it weren't for the tires and the alignment problems, I might do that, but it's never going to be fixed, where it's like not eating tires all the time. So,
and
anyways,
who knows? Maybe next episode you're going to be like, we bought a new van. It just, things blew
not
up.
next episode. unless we come into like 10 grand in the next 2 weeks, then no, but we'll see.
Well, keep us posted. Good luck. And especially during the new van buying process, man, that's always an adventure.
I think I'm going to use one of those services where you just like order it on the internet and they mail it to you, or somebody drives it to you. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to like, cause I've gone to like the used car lots and it's just, I don't want to, but like, so yeah, I'm getting ads for it. Like, I don't know, like there's like ads for like, oh, this, like Carvana or I don't know, whatever they are. And I'm like, oh, like this is kind of nice. You don't have to like negotiate and you don't have to like talk to a person.
Yeah. I've never used it, but it seems cool.
I know it feels wrong. Like I feel like I'm doing something irresponsible by like not like negotiating with somebody, but I don't know. I'll probably do something like that. We'll see.
All right.
Well, that's the van update.
Well, here's an update from me. So last week, the family and I were on vacation. We went to Iowa. We were just outside Des Moines in a suburb called Ankeny. And we were at it was a really cool Airbnb. It was like this mid-century, it was a bigger house. It had 10 people, but it was retro. So yeah, it slept 10 people, had a pool. It was just... Nice. It was I love the style of it. It was so cool. And Iowa is just, I know it sounds boring, but it is a fantastic state.
I will say, I don't think I've ever heard anybody going on vacation to Des Moines.
Des Moines is a fantastic city.
But
it's
cool,
like big but small. I don't know. I love it. We went to the state fair. We had a really good time.
Did you get what's the food of choice? Like what's the most famous food? Is like fried butter or something like
there was some sort of like ice cream treat that my oldest bought that had a butter cow at the top. Like just
a butter cow?
A butter cow.
Like a cow made out of butter?
Cow made out of butter just sitting on the top of his ice cream.
That is classic.
He didn't eat it.
State fair.
And there was like a real size butter cow, like butter carved out. Like it was incredible.
That's classic.
But what I wanted to share with this update is we overspent.
Oh yeah, okay.
By $3.
Dude, that is slick.
And here's how it played out.
Love
so
that.
the trip ended on Sunday.
Okay.
So we had all these pending transactions, and I had everything entered as of Sunday night. And I'm looking at that summer vacation category, and it was like plus $9. And I'm like, booyah. Like, we did
Nice.
it.
You nailed it. Yeah.
But I forgot about some of the tips
Oh, sure.
that had been on there. So those came through on, well, this morning, Tuesday morning, and it put me over to the edge. And I was like,
Well, I think you still nailed it. If you're within $5, that's nailed.
I don't know. That it doesn't feel like it to me. Like
come
I
on.
felt like I lost.
Oh no, Ernie. No, you nailed it. You nailed it. You were right on. I would rather be over $3 than under $9 because I feel like you're closer to zero. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
Right? So I think you nailed it even more than you thought you did.
Okay. So yeah, I took $3 from groceries, rolled with the punches, and let's start saving for next year's trip.
All right, get in the comments and tell Ernie that he's forgiven for overspending by $3 and forgetting some tips.
I think it is truly amazing when you spend lots of money over a long period of time and you come in just a shade under. I just think that's
like
really
you've done
cool.
this before, you know? Yeah, well, eventually you get really good at guessing. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. I know it's not the goal, but yeah, it does feel.
It's not the goal.
It does feel good that like, hey, I guessed really, really well.
Well, it's just fun.
Yeah,
it's just nerdy fun.
It's nerdy fun.
I love it.
Okay, let's get into those 7 habits that changed our money forever. Ben, you want to start with number 1?
Yeah, there could only be one that's number 1, and that's the big one. That's the basis of the YNAB method. Give every dollar a job. Okay, so what are we talking about here? What does it mean? If you've been YNABing and you've been watching us at all, you know you've heard this.
It's in your blood.
Let's get into it. Yeah, let's get into it. What does it mean?
Yeah, you're deciding what to do with your money before you spend it. Mm-hmm. And the way I picture this and often teach it, and this is not original, you know, YNAB teachers and personalities been sharing this analogy forever, but it's separating that spending decision from that spending moment. Mm-hmm. So instead of being in the store and looking at something and wondering, oh, can I afford this? And doing all that mental math in my head, you know, I'm checking my bank balance. I'm anticipating the future bills and expenses. I'm like, oh, I think I have about this much. Yeah, I think I can buy this. Let's do it. Yeah. I'm making those decisions before I even enter the store. I've told my money, here's what you need to do. So then when I walk into the store, I already know I can afford this. I have the confidence. I have the clarity. I can just purchase this thing, and I've separated that spending decision and that spending moment. So it makes spending money so much easier.
Yeah, I've often heard people say like they can drop a good amount of money on something and like not even really feel it, like not feel any regret or any second guessing. Like it's just kind of like, yeah, it's whatever. And I think the reason why is because you dealt with all those emotions ahead of time, right? Like when I'm sitting down and giving every dollar job, assigning money, putting it in categories, that's when I feel the scarcity and I feel the, I almost feel like I'm spending the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I'm making all those decisions with my eyes wide open because everything is laid out in front of me. And so when I actually go to spend the money, I've already dealt with all the feelings. You know what I mean? And I've dealt with it in a state of mind where I'm well fed, I'm well rested, I'm thinking about everything at once instead of I'm hungry at the grocery store. You know what I mean? And so it's just a better way to live because you deal with the emotions of spending money and the difficult trade-off decisions that you have to weigh every single time you sit down to give every dollar a job, separate from the actual spending. And I think that's really important because you make better decisions, right?
You make better decisions and you're able to actually enjoy your spending, enjoy that present moment. Like just going back to vacation. You know, I did all the hard work of 12 months leading up to this, get paid, set money aside for that upcoming trip. Mm-hmm. And so then when the trip comes, I can just spend that money. I can enjoy spending that money because I know I've set money aside for all the other things that are going on. I don't have to worry about, oh, am I spending money during this trip that I need for this upcoming bill or expense? It's none of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saving up for this van. I know when I drop maybe 15 grand on a new used van, I'm not going to feel, I'm probably going to feel something. It's probably going to feel like something.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm not going to feel regret or fear or any kind of second guess. I'm just going to feel like, oh, I made this plan and I executed it. There's even maybe some satisfaction in that too. So it's really, really powerful. And also I think what's really important is that you actually weigh the trade-offs when you are making the plan, because so often, I think if you don't have this plan where you're giving every dollar a job, every single time you spend money, you have this like pernicious second guessing that's in the back of your mind. And it's not like second guessing of like, oh, should I make this purchase or not? It's like, can I afford this? Like, am I going to be, I think what we're always asking is am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
When we ask that question of, can I afford this? We're really asking, am I going to be okay? And you actually know you're going to be okay because you did the legwork ahead of time by giving every dollar a job. So when you actually go to spend the money, you don't have any of that. You don't have any of that pernicious, yucky, gross feeling of really just fear because you have a plan and you can look at it every single day, right?
Yep. And I've been doing this most of my adult life, even when I wasn't using YNAB. But this next habit, this is YNAB specific.
Yes.
And this changed everything for me. So only working with the money that I have right now.
Yeah.
When I'm giving every dollar a job, I'm not forecasting. I'm not taking into consideration my next paycheck. Even if that money is coming 3 days from now in the current month, I'm only working with the money that I have right now in my bank or in my wallet.
And when I first learned about YNAB, I thought this was dumb. I was like I bounced off real fast because I learned about it. And then I was like, oh, forget that. Why would I not plan my whole month's income that I'm expecting ahead of time, right? And I get where it's just like that feels so off. And I think the reason why I bounced off is because I had been giving every dollar a job, but it was expected income, and I could make a plan for the whole month and all that. And then a couple months later, my wife actually looked at it, and she's smart, and she actually read the stuff. Because it wasn't really video back then, back in like 2013. This was not video internet. This was writing internet.
Yeah.
Right. And she actually read the stuff and was like, there's actually arguments for this. And it actually makes a lot of sense. So then we tried it and I was like, oh, actually, I feel it. And I'm trying to put my finger on like why it felt better. And I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think one of them is I can look at the number in the app and know that that actually represents real money.
Yes.
That's in the account. Right.
I mean,
because when I was,
I was going to say, like, I remember looking at that available amount and thinking, this is real money. Like, if I add up all these categories, it equals the exact amount that I have in the bank right now.
Yeah. And I remember when I was using Mint, I was forecasting, and even then, like Mint or rest in peace was like, was like, it was really just like setting spending limits on certain categories. But I was trying to use it to do zero-based budgeting, basically, where I was like setting. I wanted to assign money, like my entire income, right? And so, but I kind of had to break it to do that, and, but even then, even when I did get down to zero with my expected income, I still had this second guessing because of the timing issues, where it's just like, I could look at, this $800 for groceries or, whatever amount it was. And it's like, okay, well, that's how much I have to spend. That's a spending limit for the month, but do I actually have that money? Like, if I spend like all of it, or like, it's like, do I need to like pace it, or like, and like, it is true you need to pace it, but it's just like, I don't know if it's gonna like, if something is gonna come up in 2 days and I'm gonna need to like change that. If you look at the money in YNAB and you're giving every dollar job and you're only working with money you have, you look at that and you say, yes, that's real money. I can spend all of it right now and be okay and everything else that I've planned for is also taken care of. And it's proven because it actually represents real money, you know?
And that always caught me off guard and derailed me with my spreadsheets is because
you're still second guessing.
I was forecasting and Christy and I always ended up spending money that hadn't arrived yet. Yeah. That's why pretty much every single month we ended in the negative. We spent more money that actually came in than actually what came in. And so it wasn't until I started working with the money that we have. And yes, I remember it taking me a while to I don't know why. Why did it take me so long to grasp that concept? But it just felt so awkward to me.
Right.
But once it clicked, once I got it, I was like, oh, this feels so much better. And I just felt like Christy and I could pace ourselves better throughout the month as well.
Yeah, it's like it's an extra step of planning. Like if you're using targets on everything, you can plan your expected income if you want to do it that way. That's why we have cost to be me, right? So you can compare your targets with your expected income, and that's really powerful. But then you do this extra step of okay, this is what I plan to assign, and this is what I'm actually assigning. And so I feel like it's almost like, you're scratching your head. You're like, why am I planning to plan, and then I'm planning. It's like you're planning to plan, and then you plan, and then you spend, right?
Yeah.
And it's because you really, there's something just clicks when you have that assurance that amount is real. It represents real dollars. And I think there's a lot of folks are using YNAB right now. I know this because I've talked with folks that do this, where maybe you assign more money than you have a big red number at the top, or maybe you're not using it in this exact way where you're only working with the money that you actually have. And I really want to encourage you to think about this and try it for 3 months. Or something like that, like a good chunk of time, more than just 1 month. Try it, because I there's so many things like this with YNAB. It's almost hard to articulate what goes on. Like something clicks in your brain, something changes in your heart when you can have that assurance that you didn't have before, and you can't necessarily know it until you give it a shot. So I want you to try it.
And I think it can be especially difficult for those folks who primarily spend on a credit card.
For sure, yeah.
Because right away they realize, oh my goodness, I've been spending future income. Because
when you have to give you the bad news.
Right.
It's like, hey, you thought you weren't in debt because you pay it off every month, but you're in debt because you're dependent on that card, right?
Right, because they're looking at their ready to assign amount and they're like, oh my goodness, I don't have enough to fund the payment category and fund the next round of expenses. They're having to make that choice.
Right. But if you can just get past, and it might take some time, but if you can just get past this 1 month, or maybe for some folks, it's only a week or a few days of income where you're floating on the card. If you can just get past that, so much unlocks, and it's huge. We won't get into it now, but if you want to learn about that, credit card float is the keyword. Search up YNAB credit card float. We have tons of resources on how to get past that. If you're listening to this and you're like, I think they're talking about me, please search that up. You'll find tons of resources on that, and it'll help.
And this is a habit that I'm going to use. I can't ever imagine not using this habit. Even if I wasn't using YNAB.
Oh gosh,
I would build myself a system built on the money that I have right now. I just can't do it any other way.
Well, I don't even know how to interface with money any other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this point, it would be I would be anxious all the time, I think, because it brings this piece that you can't really do without after you've tried it.
And a side benefit of this too is, because I'm just thinking about the windfalls that you get and how often I would spend those before they even arrived. The tax refund. Let's just spend it before it actually gets deposited in the account, and then something would change between when we spent it and when it was deposited. I'm like, now we're kind of in a tough spot here.
Yeah. I mean, even if you are giving her a dollar job, you can. I try not to anticipate any windfalls too long, because you can kind of spend it in your head 3 times, and you kind of you take, like, say you're getting like $1,000 bonus and you're expecting the $1,000 bonus and you spend it in your head, you spend it like 3 different ways. And so it feels like you're getting a $3,000 bonus worth the value, right? Because you've multiplied it.
Right.
And then you go into YNAB and you give every dollar job and you're like, oh, I only have 1,000. Like I thought I had 3,000. Like it felt, your feelings felt like you were getting 3,000, right? So I almost try to let's not even think about it until it's here, because when you anticipate, especially if you have multiple competing goals and you anticipate it, you can inflate it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what's worse is when you actually inflate it by spending it before you even get it, and then you ended up needing it for something else, and then it's almost like turns those windfalls into a bummer, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of power there.
That was a good one. All right.
Let's move on.
Habit number 3, saving for non-monthlies.
Mm-hmm.
What do we mean by non-monthly bills and expenses?
Okay, so you got your monthly bills, like your rent or your mortgage, you got your electric bill, all the stuff that happens on a monthly basis. And like, if you were to like grab somebody off the street and be like, hey, list your expenses, that's where they would start. And that might be all they say, right? But then there's all these things that don't happen every month. They're on a weird cadence or they're random, right? And there's really 2 kinds. There's predictable non-monthly expenses, which is like, it could be anything from like a bill that happens every 6 months. Like I pay my insurance bill every 6 months, right? Or it could be something even more predictable where it's like Amazon Prime comes out once a year and this is the amount, right? Yep. Or it could be something a little more unpredictable, where it's like the car maintenance, like my mechanic calling me before we recorded that episode of Budget Nerds and telling me, hey, you gotta give me $3,000, you know, right? So these things are, we often call them financial emergencies, but if you take a step back and you look at it, you know, if you have a car, it's going to need maintenance. You know, if you celebrate Christmas, you're going to need to buy gifts in December. You know that if you have a Amazon Prime subscription, you're going to have to pay for it, right? So they're not really emergencies in the sense of they're unexpected. You can't actually expect them. And so what do we do, Ernie? Like, how do we expect them? Like, what does that look like in YNAB?
We just treat them like a monthly bill.
Yeah.
Every single month, we set a little bit aside for those non-monthlies.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben M said, he called it, he said, turning them into a monthly subscription, which is basically what that is, right? I don't have any yearly subscriptions. I pay a lot of subscriptions yearly, but in my mind, they're all monthly subscriptions. Right. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
Because you just divide, we talk about this, I remember Jesse made a joke, like I think this was even before my time. This is like early on. And this was when Jesse was like the keeper of the method. Like he was like one of the only ones that would really like make changes and he would lead the whole company on that. And he was like, he teased everybody. I think it was like April Fool's, and he like made a joke. It's like, I'm changing all the 4 rules from back in the day. And one of them, he said, instead of embrace your true expenses, which was the old rule that applies to this non-monthly, he just said divide by 12. Which was the joke. But it's like, he made a joke like, but that's really what we're doing. Like, take your, like, estimate your car maintenance, or take the more predictable stuff, like how much you want to spend on Christmas, and just divide it by 12. That's what you do. And you set that money aside every single month. And it changes things. It really does.
Oh man, it drastically changes things. And this is the way I still approach it. I divide by 12. Like, honestly, yeah. I figure out what I need for the entire year. I divide by 12 and I set a monthly target, set aside another for that amount.
Yeah. I often do the math myself, even though YNAB can do the math for you if you wanted to. But sometimes it's just like, I know what to do. Just divide by 12. And so your whole life you're dividing by 12.
Old
right?
school. But I mean, prior to saving for the non-monthlies, I was just stuck in the monthly view. Like, what happens this month? Okay, of course you got the monthly bills and expenses, and then you have those, random things that end up throwing a wrench in everything. And I would just deal with them as they popped up. And they always came as surprises. Even Christmas, which happens every December, it surprised me, and we were scrambling to come up with the money. And then things just got so much easier once I was like, oh, let's zoom out. So instead of looking at just the month, let's look at the entire year. Here are all my bills over the course of 12 months. Here are all my possible expenses. And let's treat every single one of these like a monthly subscription. And
divide by 12.
I mean, I remember I felt that pinch. When Christy and I started doing this, we didn't have as much discretionary income.
Right.
And that didn't feel great. I'm like, oh, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
But then
when the stuff actually came up, it was fun, right?
And we had money to pay for the repair or that yearly subscription. I was like, this is amazing. And that feeling, at least for me, it hasn't gone away. Like, I still get a rush paying that Costco membership every December. I'm like, hey, I've saved, I don't know, what is it, like $10 or $11 every single month. Like, I've saved that and I can just pay it. Still feels good.
Well, this is another one of those things where it can be really easy to resist it, because what you're doing here, if you decide to turn all those non-monthly into monthly subscriptions and set money aside for each of them, what you're doing is you are admitting that your monthly cash flow situation is actually a little less loosey-goosey than you think it is.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Because I think what a lot of folks do is they take their income and then they minus their monthly expenses and only their monthly expenses. And then they say, okay, the rest of this is just whatever, discretionary money, right? And so in their mind, they're like, oh, I can do whatever I want with this. And then the car repair comes around and you're like, oh, that just took away from my fun money, or like, or you're like, I got to put that on debt because I already spent that money, right? And the fact is that this isn't something you can get around, okay? Like, there is no such thing as a normal month. Your monthly subscription, your monthly bills and all that stuff is just a small part of your overall spending picture. And if you just admit it and in fact actually embrace it and say, I do want a car that works, right? I do want to be able to take my car to the mechanic, and just say, okay, I need to admit and just trust that my cash flow situation needs to include these non-monthlies as well. Then when you actually do have a windfall, or when you actually do have a plan that involves some discretionary spending, it's actually discretionary and it actually is real. It's going to be a smaller amount because than it was before, but it's real. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually safe to spend because you're saving for all these other things.
And this has brought me so much peace of mind because I know I've considered everything. Like, all my categories represent everything that we could possibly need money for. So as I set money aside every single month and then I look at those available to spend, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. I've considered everything and I can just freely spend this money now.
Yeah. I feel like I had a moment just recently where we talk a lot about the emergency fund and what you should call it, because it is true. Like, when you first start YNAB, there's going to be a million things that you forget.
Yes.
So now 13 years in, I feel like I have a lot of those non-monthly expenses really dialed in. Now, I think there'll always be things that come up that I didn't plan for, but I have a way of dealing with it, right? And so I had a moment where, because I was looking at my prudent reserve, which is what I call my emergency fund, right? And I was like, because I'm saving for this new car and I'd like to get it soon, I was like, I could grab that money and use it for the new car, right? And I was like, but like, what would I be giving up? You know what I mean? And I was looking through and I was like, well, it's not any of these non-monthly expenses that are, I would have thought of as emergencies before YNAB, right? The only thing I'd really be giving up is a job loss fund. If my wife or I lost her job, or we had an interruption in our income, that's what I'd be giving up. So I actually went in and I changed it from prudent reserve, and I changed the name to job loss fund. And I still might, if I get impatient and I want to buy this new car, I might grab it from there.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what I'm giving up. I'm giving up the job loss fund temporarily until I refill it back up again to get the new car. And like that, and that's a very legitimate decision. I could say, you know what, the jobs are secure. I'm not anticipating anything weird going on. I can go ahead and grab that and move it to this. But before, if I was to grab it, I was more uncomfortable with maybe taking money from there because I don't know what I'm giving up.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think what you'll find too, and I'm going to be writing a blog about this because it's been on my mind a lot. The more you save for these non-monthlies, your need for an emergency fund that's kind of vague and random will get less and less over time until the point where really it's just the last big non-monthly expense is an income loss fund. And what's really cool about that is you can actually deploy those emergency fund savings to different things. You can maybe feel freer to move it around because you're saving for all these other non-monthly expenses. And it can be really, really powerful. I think it's like almost like the late stage. It's like the last stage, right?
Yeah.
Of the emergency fund vibes, right? I don't know why I've just got that on my mind. I think that something really powerful happens where you're just like, yeah, I don't really have any emergencies anymore because all the things that would have been emergencies, I've set money aside. I've incorporated it into my regular cash flow instead of it just needing to be random and like have a big meeting and try to figure out what I'm going to do when something comes up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That clarity you have is so powerful. That's why I made a change to my plan. Well, I think it was at the beginning of this year. There was a time last year where I was like, okay, I've got all these non-monthly categories. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those, there's one expense coming out of them per year. That just didn't, it felt like overkill. Like, why don't I just delete all those categories?
Right.
Roll them up and just one kind of non-monthly category.
Okay.
And, save a fixed amount.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right?
It
like, because you're
makes
still doing
sense.
the same thing. You're still admitting that you need to use some of your cash flow for these.
Yeah,
right?
but I lost so much clarity. I'm like, I don't like this. Like, I like having more categories now and seeing, oh, that money is for our, I don't know, Google Plus storage. That money is for Costco membership. That money is for the router security thing we have, I don't know. I like knowing that I've accounted for everything that we could be spending money on.
And it gives you peace of mind. And then
total peace of mind.
And you can move money between them, among those categories. You can move money around, but like when you do, you know exactly what you're giving up. You know what the trade-off is. Yeah. And so, something really powerful happens. But I think the key piece here is just admitting that you need to incorporate these things into your regular cash flow instead of dealing with it when it comes up. Your life is going to be so much more stable and relaxed. And that's not it's like, you might be like, oh, well, I can handle it when it comes up. And like that might be true, but it is so valuable to just live your life where these things just don't matter. I mean, like when the mechanic calls and you say, like they're like, okay, like I feel like it's the worst part of like a mechanic's job where they're just like, okay, it's going to cost this much. And you just say, okay, let's do it. Like, and they just, like, you hear like their relief in their voice. Like you just feel like so cool. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like you're doing them a favor. I don't know. It's just a better way to live. Okay. And maybe it's one of those things again where you just got to trust me and try it and then see how you feel. And it might take a little longer, maybe like a year of trying this. And I promise you're not going to want to go back, but you just try it. Okay.
It reminds me of the story that Aaron, our lead educator, shared. Oh, this is probably now years ago, where a whole bunch of stuff happened in the same month. Like a tree came down. I think there was something with the house, like all these big expenses. And she'd been saving for those things all along. And so she just paid the bills. And I mean, it wasn't fun. It's never fun to turn over money for that kind of stuff.
You don't like doing it still,
right?
But you're not freaking out, right?
But there was no freaking out. I think the way she explained it was she was just living life.
Yeah. It's just a better way to live. So the fact is that you don't have that cash flow, and just admitting it and making a plan for it is better. It's just better.
Oh man, these are all so good. Each one I'm like, no, this is the top one for me. No, this is the top one.
Divide by 0, guys. Or divide by 12. Not divide. Don't divide by 0. You'll blow up the world. Divide by 12. All right. Next one. I mean, this one's great too. We've had many episodes about this. Getting a month ahead. What does that mean, Ernie? And when did you do it?
Yeah, so getting a month ahead. This is something I never heard pre-YNAB.
Yeah, it's kind of our thing. I don't know
And
why.
There's a few people in the community that have said, "Oh, my, grandma used this back in the day," or my uncle
listen,
taught
there's
me.
nothing new. Okay.
Right.
Like, there's nothing new. But yeah, this as like a financial goal, I feel like isn't talked about enough.
Yeah, and it's a huge one. So it's this idea of you are a month ahead on your expenses and bills, right? So practically speaking, all the paychecks that I get this month in August, that's the money that's going to be used next month in September.
Yeah. So you're living on last month's income.
That's the phrase I was
Yeah.
going for. Yes, living on last month's income.
And the way you know you get there is if the first of the month rolls around and your plan, including those non-monthlies, is fully funded. All those categories are green. If you're a YNABer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're fully funded on the first of the month. That's when you know that you've gotten there. And I don't even care. Like if you get paid on the 30th and you fund it on, and that funds it,
Yeah.
like you're a month ahead. Okay. If you're fully funded on the first, you are a month ahead. And if you want to go further because of that, you can, but you're fully funded. And something, again, I've been saying this like every time, but like something unlocks in your heart when you do this. It's spiritual. Like it's just like it's something crazy happens, and you just, well, first of all, you have this breathing room. Everything,
Oh my goodness,
gets easier because you don't have to make decisions right away. When I get paid, I don't need that money for at least 30 days. For me, it's actually 60 days because I like to be 2 months ahead, right? And so just think about that. Like imagine getting a paycheck. You remember, I mean, Ernie, you're old enough. Back in the day, you got a paper paycheck and you had to take it to the bank and talk to a teller and put it in there.
Yep.
Right.
Every Friday.
And so like you could put that paycheck in your pocket and not even cash it for a month if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know why you do that, but you could. Right. How does that feel? That feels really good. It's just really powerful.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So, oh man, this is my favorite. I feel like
Ernie's like, this one's my favorite.
it makes money so much easier.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like when you're a month ahead, you truly can put everything on autopilot. Like,
yeah, that's
all of
the
the
key,
bills on auto pay, all that stuff that you keep in your head of like timing bills to paychecks, you can forget that. Like, I remember, like, because we would run our checking account down to fumes at the end of every month. And then the mortgage was due on the 1st, but we had a 14-day grace period. And so then every month it was like, okay, when's that first paycheck of the month? And then, okay, I'll be able to make the payment on the 9th.
Right.
And then how
All
much
this
will
timing.
that? Yeah. It was horrible. It was so stressful. And then if something were to happen with payroll, like this just happened with my wife last month where we didn't get her paycheck for a few days, and HR was like, they felt horrible.
Oh,
and
well,
I'm
that's
like,
nice, because I feel like a lot of times the story is they're just like whatever, you know.
Yeah, they
so
felt,
at least they were apologetic.
They
right?
felt horrible, and I just, hey, Christy, why don't you just tell them we're a month ahead? It's no big deal. And
right. No, don't tell them that.
No, I'm like,
let the urgency happen.
Yeah, I was joking, but yeah, I was like, it's no big deal. Where in the past that would have been a really, really big deal.
Right. And I think for the vast majority of people, it's a really big deal. And yeah, like I even see like all these ads now for like, I mean, they're not payday loans, but that's what they are. Like, because it's just like, it's like a spot you later, or this bank will give you $500 before your next paycheck, or it's just straight up like a payday loan app.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. Right. And like, I think the terms are better than like a typical brick and mortar payday loans store, you know, where they're like charging you 100% interest or something crazy like that. But it doesn't solve the problem to get your paycheck money a little bit earlier. All it does is move the timing back another week, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's two things that happen. Like one is like an emotional, spiritual thing where it's just like, I feel this breathing room. I feel this, I don't have to be right on the edge. You don't have to like live with this checking account on fumes, right? And then a very practical bookkeeping thing happens where you don't have to time bills to paychecks. You don't have to like say, okay, well, I can pay the electric bill now, but I can't pay the phone bill until after I get my next paycheck. So I need to set that to the 21st because I get the paycheck on the 20th. You know, you don't have to do all of that. And so much of our energy, our personal finance time and effort goes into accounts and dates and a calendar and like all this scheduling, and it's just like a cash flow timing problem. And that is the biggest issue for so many people. And you're spending all this energy on dates and schedules and timing and cash flow, and you have no energy left, no creative energy left for what do I want my life to actually look like? You know what I mean? Like, what do I want my money to do for me? How do I want to express myself in the world? And what kind of human do I want to be as far as spending money involves that, right? And so it's just something happens where you actually have creative energy. Like, okay, your energy is a resource. It's over. Like you spend it and it's gone. It's just like it's not just like money because it's a little more loosey goosey and weird. But I really think that your energy, particularly your creative energy, you can only spend so much of it on your money. And if you're spending it all on calendars and not on what do I want my life to look like, you're really hurting yourself because you can't have any creative energy to go after your dreams and your visions and building up your community and blah, you know, like it's just a tragedy. It makes me so upset. So if you can get to this place where you don't have to use that paycheck for 30 days, all of the practical timing issues go away, and you actually have creative energy to breathe and figure out what you want to do with your money. So it's huge.
I have nothing to say, Ben. Like,
Sorry,
once you started going, I was just like, "Here we go. This is one of those classic Ben B
I have
rants."
feelings about this. Okay,
I love it. That was great. And if you are not trying YNAB and you're as fired up as I am right now, and you want to try it free for 34 days, just go to ynab.com/nerds and get your free trial there.
Yeah. For me, this was the first thing I went after when I really got into YNAB. And never looked back. For you, it was a little bit longer, right?
It was a lot longer. Like I have no idea when Christy and I ended up getting a month ahead, but 3, 4, maybe 5 years.
Yeah. So there's a lot of YNABers watching this that are right there. You haven't gotten here yet because you just haven't prioritized it, or maybe you didn't even know about it, and now you do. So go for it. Go for it.
Well, here's the thing. It comes down to two things for me. It was one, priorities. You know, we were paying off a ton of debt, and that was my number one priority.
Right.
But two, I didn't think we could do it.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
honestly,
Okay.
I was like, getting a month ahead. Yeah, that sounds great.
Well, essentially, you need to save a month of income, and that's daunting. Like, that's a lot.
It was super daunting because at the time, if I had saved $1,000, I felt like I was, I just ran a marathon. Like, that was a really big deal to me. So
Yeah.
it felt unreachable. But then I realized you can do this in stages.
Yeah, that's true.
You can get a month ahead on one bill. And that feels different. You can get a month ahead on all your bills. Like, we kept building it out and reaping the benefits of practically being a month ahead.
Yeah.
Until eventually it got to the point where, back to the emergency fund, we looked at this amount of money in this category that was seldomly, if ever, getting used. And we're like, I think we can deploy these dollars to something better.
Yeah. It was part of the emergency fund discussion for you too.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're like, I love this idea, but I don't know if I can do it. You're feeling like Ernie, like, just focus on your monthly bills. That's what I'm gonna say. Like figure out get a number of the buffer you need to get a month ahead on your monthly bills. And then you'll unlock a lot of the timing stuff that I was talking about. You'll get rid of that, and that will be huge. You're going to want to go further, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to want to do everything, but start with that and you'll unlock a lot of these benefits. So try it.
And then anytime there's a windfall, maybe you save a little extra money, or there's a third paycheck, there's a bonus, there's a tax refund.
It always goes faster than you think. It really does.
Yeah, it really does go faster to get that month
ahead. If you're like, I'm looking at it and I can't do this right now, that's okay too. Like if
Yeah.
you're just giving every dollar a job and that's it, you are gonna feel so much better, right? Even if you're not saving for non-monthlies right now because you can't, or it's not something that you're able to do, that's fine too. Just we're kind of building on top of each other as we go here. I think is what we're doing.
Yep.
Okay, next one. I've talked enough about this. So I gotta get the feelings out. All right.
I love it.
I just want everybody to do this. I don't know. Okay. All right.
Habit number 5, find the money first.
Yes. Okay. So what are we talking about here? So this is a little bit of a shift because I think a lot of folks, when you're using YNAB or you're using another tool to manage your spending, it's more like a report at the end of the month. Like you just spend. Maybe you even plan ahead, like you plan how you're going to spend, and then you just spend, and you compare your actual spending to your plan, and you say, oh, and you get like a grade, right? And this is how most personal finance apps work, okay? And if that's all you're doing, honestly, that's great because it's going to be much better than not doing anything at all. Like you are going, because you can that actually can change your habits over time. You're like, hey, I spent more than I planned to on groceries, right? But find the money first is a little bit of a further shift from that, where instead of just getting that grade at the end of the month, every single time you spend money, and we're talking about discretionary stuff, every single time you spend money, you check the plan ahead of time and you see if you can afford that spending based on your plan, right?
Yep.
And there's a couple, if depending on what you see, there's a few different avenues. Like I think of this as like a branching path from that point, right? Do you want to take that, Ernie? Because I've been talking too much.
Yeah, I can take it from here. You want that path or this path, right? You can't take both of them.
Yeah.
And you're weighing all of your trade-offs and figuring out what you want most. So you're ranking your priorities, and you're doing that in real time, which I think is really powerful. And this is one of those that just really changed. Well, for me, I think the big thing is it helped me get ahead.
Yeah.
Because if I'm just kind of making decisions, spending money based on emotions, then if I'm getting to the end of the month and I'm just looking at that report card, I'm generally failing.
Yeah.
But if I'm making those trade-offs in the moment, like during the course of a week, I'm going to get a lot better results.
Yeah. And let me give you an example, because I think that this is what it looks like practically. Like, let's say you want to buy a new pair of shoes, okay, and you have a clothing category, and I feel like shoes always blows up the clothing category because it's like so much more expensive than like a shirt. You know what I mean? So I think this is a good example. Okay, so you could just buy the shoes and then look at the report card at the end of the month and see how your clothing category worked out, right? Or you could actually, before you buy the shoes, you could look at the clothing category, and one of two things is going to happen at that moment. You're either going to have the money for the shoes, and you want the shoes, so you can just spend the money, okay? Or you're not going to have the money for the shoes, and then you have a choice. You can say, no, I'm not going to buy the shoes. Or you can say, I want the shoes more than some other category. And you can look through your plan and say, okay, this dining out category, I want the shoes more than I want to go out to eat this weekend. So I'm going to move $30 from there to the clothing category so I have enough to buy the shoes, right? And that is super, super powerful, because then you're weighing the trade-offs. That's what we're talking about with find the money, right? So if you don't have the money before you spend it, find it so you don't overspend. And then you actually have a choice, because you could look through your categories and say, well, I want the shoes, but I don't want it more than I want to go out to eat. I don't want it more than I want to pay my electric bill. And you might just say, you know what? I don't want the shoes and I'm not going to get it. And if you do that process of going through your plan and weighing those trade-offs, when you decide not to buy the shoes, it's not going to feel like a restriction, because you actually have a reason. You actually have a reward for not buying the shoes. You're spending the money on something else instead, right?
Yeah. And what I love about this habit is it gives us permission to spend.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's not like, oh, you look at your category and you realize I don't have enough money for this thing. The answer is no, can't spend money, right? Got to follow those budget rules.
Mm-hmm.
You can weigh the trade-offs. You can pull money from somewhere else. But, you know, this exercise just lets you realize you can't have it all. And this is something that I'm really trying to teach my boys. Like, you know, I'm really, all the personal finance principles, I think this is the big one I want to instill at a young age. In fact, I just walked through this whole thing with my youngest the other day at the mall. So we just got back from vacation. I mentioned that he sets a crazy amount aside for vacation, like crazy amount. And he had a lot left over. And I think he kind of, it felt like it was burning a hole in his pocket.
Totally. Yeah.
And he wanted to buy, so we went to the mall, we went to this card shop. He likes looking at sports stuff.
Okay.
And he wanted to buy this $400 signed Puka Nakua helmet. Like Puka
helmet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Not
he's
a card.
He's a star receiver for the LA Rams, his favorite team.
That's a solid football name right there.
It's a great name. He's a great player. But yeah, and it was an authentic helmet. It was an authentic autograph.
Cool.
But I'm like, it's $400, buddy. Like, is there anything else you would rather do with this money? So we didn't buy it. I got him to agree to sit on it for 24 hours and just consider his other options. Like, what else would you rather do with that money? And he woke up this morning and told me there's nothing. I want to buy the helmet.
Okay, great.
So
yeah,
but
he did the exercise. He just he thought about, is there something else I want more? You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really cool, and kudos to him for getting it right. But the permission to spend, like he doesn't have to, because if he just spent it, he without thinking about what he wanted, he might have had that regret and that feeling of second guessing her, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to instill too. Is like, okay, hey, it's okay to want to spend this $400. Like, let's just spend it aligned with your actual priorities,
right?
Like what you want from life right now. So we'll see. I think he's going to get it, but
yeah. So if you're not doing this now, if you're using YNAB or a spreadsheet or another tool, and you're just kind of doing that report card thing where you're tracking and then seeing how you did, try this. Try to actually look at that. And because you're using YNAB, because you're giving every dollar job and only working with the money you have, it makes this possible. Like, it actually unlocks this, because when you look at that number, you know it represents real money in your account. Like, you see how these habits kind of build on each other. So if you're doing that thing where you're just kind of doing a report card at the end of the month, start working on this where it's just little things. Like if you go to the grocery store, just pull up the grocery category real quick. Or if you go on Amazon, like open the relevant category about what you're going to spend on, right? And just look at it. Like, if you don't even have to do anything, like, just look at it before you spend and think for 1 second. And I promise you, this is when your plan actually starts to change your behavior in real time. I think the report card thing can change it over long periods of time, but this is actually going to change it moment to moment. And this is when you'll actually start making progress on these goals, because you won't be overspending quite as much. And you'll actually start to feel like your spending is lining up with who you are. It's really powerful.
We have 2 habits left.
Okay.
And I know we're getting a little long here, which I always try to
Got
keep
a little
them tight.
Passionate and excited. Sorry.
No, that's fine. In fact, a lot of people like the long episodes.
Yeah, I mean, the way I listen to podcasts or like even long YouTube videos, like I don't even listen to it in one sitting. I put it on and then come back to it, you know. So
yeah.
I don't think it makes sense.
Well, and I knew this one would be long, right? Because these are things that are ingrained in us. We talk about them all the time, and we can just riff on them forever. So
yeah, but this one I feel like is more your thing. Like, I'm not sure I've really gotten this one like in my heart as much as you have. So yeah. I will let you rant about this a little bit.
Yeah, I don't even know how to tightly, concisely say this, but holding on to cash as long as possible.
Okay.
So that is a habit that I have learned to appreciate, because, and I think I'm thinking of it especially with debt payoff.
Okay.
Because I came into YNAB paying off a ton of debt. There were student loans, there were car loans, there was a second mortgage, there was some medical debt, there was some credit card debt. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to get rid of that as fast as possible.
Right. Which is good.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't want this to hang over me. I want to free up that cash that I'm sending to these people every single month. And so I wanted to pay it off very quickly. And that's what I tried to do. I mean, literally, like as soon as extra money came into my life, I would log on to my student loan account and make a payment. You know, I was doing some, I had like a side gig for a number of years. I was buying groceries and delivering them to people's homes and stuff like that. And as soon as I got a paycheck, I think they paid out weekly. You know, if I made $75, I would just instantly, as soon as I was deposited, send it to my student loan account.
Do you think it was like a lack of trust in yourself kind of thing? Like,
no,
you feel
not
like,
at all. Not at all.
Oh, you just wanted to get the debt gone. It wasn't like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to spend it on something else.
Nope. I knew that money could be protected in my YNAB categories.
Okay.
I wanted to get that debt down as paid off as quickly as possible.
Okay.
What I realized though is that limited my options because we always say this around here, cash gives you options.
Right.
And so now I just try to hold on to that cash a little bit longer. You know, so if I could redo this, let's go back to that $75 example that I got from the side gig. If I were to do that today, I would take that $75, put it in my debt category, and then I wouldn't send that payment until next month.
Okay.
You know, like I would get like a month ahead on that debt
so you
payment.
still get the satisfaction of like sticking it in the category.
Still get the satisfaction, but I wouldn't actually send it as a payment until 30, 45 days later because you never know what's going to happen between now and then.
Right.
You know, especially back then when our incomes weren't as high, like we didn't have as much margin. Things did pop up regularly during those time frames.
Right.
And I could have used that extra cash to ease kind of that financial burden at the time, but I didn't because I had sent all my extra cash as debt payments. So yeah, and of course, you know, hindsight is 2020, but we have a car loan now and I'm putting this into practice and it gives me more peace of mind. I feel a little bit more resilient, you know, sitting on this extra cash, knowing that, eventually I'll send it as a debt payment. But right now I'm just going to hang on to it.
Now I feel like I can hear the objection here, specifically related to debt. Cause it's like, hey, if you keep that cash around and don't put it on debt, aren't you paying more in interest? Right.
Right.
So like, and that's a cost, right?
It absolutely
But do you feel
is.
like it's worth that cost?
I mean, I ran the numbers. I looked at the interest we're paying.
The cheeseburger, isn't it?
Right. It's not that much. And so I just, honestly, I don't care about that.
I think sometimes folks put like an outsized importance on not paying interest just because I feel like there's a narrative of like, hey, you're throwing money away if you pay interest.
Yes, you're doing something bad, something wrong.
But no, like you're purchasing a thing.
You're purchasing time.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not getting. I think people think like, oh, paying interest is getting no value back, but that's not true. Like you're purchasing options, right, for you because you have time to decide what you want to do with that money, and something else might come up that you'd rather do with that money. And by paying a small amount of interest, you have purchased that. Now you might say paying that interest isn't worth the options, and then that's the calculus where it's like, oh, okay, I should send that cash. And so you said like as long as possible, and I feel like maybe the calculus is like, speaking directly to debt payments or holding on to the cash, the calculus is, do I want to pay X amount in interest, or would I rather have the cash so I have more options? And if the answer is yes, I'd rather pay the interest, then do that. If the answer is no, then send the money. And I think that's where you know it's as long as possible, right?
Yeah, totally. And you know, the other side of this is, well, will you ever end up spending that money? Well, are you just always going to hang on to it? So you always have those options. Right, because
do that forever. Yeah.
But in this particular scenario, especially since, you know, talking about that car loan, like it's a limited amount of time.
Right.
You know, I think the terms are like 4 years on that. So it's a short runway. And I kind of just want to hold on to it for at least a year.
I mean, let's say you were like going to aggressively pay it off. Like, do you think there'd be an argument for like let's say you wanted to pay it off 2 years early. Do you think there'd be an argument for saving up the whole payoff amount and then paying it off all at once? That's
what I was going to do.
Yeah.
That was my initial plan.
Yeah. And then you could do the math and see how much extra interest that would cause and see how you feel. You know, if you feel real icky about it, maybe don't do it. But if you don't, if you want to have the options instead, you could do that. So yeah.
I don't know. I've just, over the years, 13 years of using YNAB, I've just learned to appreciate having cash.
Yeah.
It gives you options. And I think that's why with, talking about something very practical, I use credit cards so much is because I can float those expenses in the future. Now I have money set aside in the payment category, so I'm not actually on the credit card float, but I don't need to send all that cash right away. So I just pay the statement balance. I don't pay any interest on that. And I like knowing that, okay, if something horrible were to happen and we needed a significant amount of cash, I have some there available in the payment categories.
Right. It's something I noticed a difference between you and me. Like, I think you value cash and I value cash flow more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Where like you would rather, like, for example, like I could go get a loan to get this van, or I could wait 6 months and pay for it in cash. And there's lots of reasons why I'd rather pay for it in cash. It's just, I don't know how to get a loan anyway. I don't want to deal with it. Frankly, I'd rather just save up for 6 months and pay for it in cash.
That's really easy, Ben. Really easy.
But like a lot of it is just like this is how I live. It's inertia for a lot of it. But maybe I should think about that, because it's like, okay, or I could get the loan and hold on to the cash instead. But then I would lose the cash flow. I'd be obligated to pay a certain amount every month. And I don't like that at all. You know what I mean? So there's kind of there is a trade-off here. And I know there's math. I know you guys are going to get in the comments and be like, oh, there's math decisions. But like, I don't really care about the math, quite frankly. I care more about the emotional decision of it. And I think that's really wise. Over the years, you've come to this place where you're just like, yeah, the cash is and the options is really valuable. So hang on to that.
All right, here we are. Number 7.
Yeah, one more. All right.
The final habit we're going to be talking about: regularly changing the plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So huge part of YNAB, a huge part of this method is the plan is not rigid. You made a plan to spend a certain amount on groceries 3 weeks ago, but now it is a new day. You are a different person. Your circumstances are different, and your wants and your needs are different. So I'm going to say this: for any reason at all that you want, you can go and change your grocery category and spend more on groceries. For any reason at all, you can go and spend more on your dining out category by moving money from other categories. Change that plan. And some folks, you might be like, really, Ben, for any reason at all? And I'm going to say yes, for any reason at all, because here's the deal. If you are weighing the trade-offs, if you're deciding what I'm going to give up in order to spend more on dining out by moving that money from one category to another, if you're doing that exercise, you will make the right decision for yourself, because you are actually making that decision with your eyes wide open. Now, there might be a case where you're like, I know this is the wrong decision, I'm going to do it anyway, right? Like, that could happen, but I don't think that happens very often. I think when you're thinking about it this way, where you're actually having to go and physically move money from one category to another, and you're saying, I'm giving this up in order to do this other thing. If you do that, you are going to make the choice that aligns with what you actually want, right? So for any reason ever at all, change your plan if you want to, okay?
And I'm curious what you're going to say here. I don't know if I would advise this to someone who isn't using YNAB. Like if someone is using
that's actually a good point. Yeah,
a platform, some software where you forecast, I don't know if this works, because I think you're going to end up second guessing and really regretting some of that spending. Those changes.
I think only working with the money you have, giving every dollar a job, that principle is a prerequisite for this, because you can't weigh the trade-offs if you're not working with real money. Yeah. Right. And so I've talked about trade-offs a lot. We have a whole episode on trade-offs if you want to like Google that. That is what we're doing here. That's like the whole shebang. We're just saying, I have a limited amount of money. Do I want to spend it on this or on this? And I'm trading off the decision, right? And you can't do that unless you lay down a base plan with real money that you actually have in the account. You can't change it because you're not actually weighing trade-offs with real hard cash, and something happens there.
Yeah. And this isn't just for the spending on the fly. This is like the people that have been in it for years and decades. Take a look at those targets. Take a look at how much you've been assigning to every single category every single month for all these years and see if anything needs to change. I mean, I'm shocked. I mean, I shouldn't be shocked. With the kids, like they're going through these seasons rapidly. So I feel like my categories are regularly changing, right? Those targets, the actual categories, some we need, some we don't need anymore. But everything is just in flux right now.
Yeah. The main thing I use any kind of YNAB report or average or like anything like that in YNAB, like the data, if there's anything I use it for, it's comparing my target with my average spending.
Yeah.
And that can be really powerful because I think, we get into these ruts where it's like really, especially with targets, because it feels like a big deal when you change a target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get into these ruts where it's almost like emotionally hard to change it. But if you actually look at the average spending versus the target, you realize, I'm spending more on this. And it could just be because things cost more. Like my pool chlorine costs twice as much this now than it did 3 years ago. Right. And so I changed that pool target, like we talked about a little while ago. Right. So I think this is where, especially when you're looking at targets and maybe make those changes, the actual data of your spending can be really powerful here.
Yeah, changing that plan. I say this often in workshops, especially to the new YNABers, like, that you're doing YNAB right when you're making changes.
Yeah.
If you're not making any changes, I don't know. I want to check in on that.
Well, I feel like you might not be finding the money first. You might not be only working with the money you have. I feel like it might be a symptom of something else that's going on. So it is the right thing to do. It is the smart thing to do to change your plan. And I think we need to like kind of have a little bit of, I'm going to call it like deprogramming here, moralistic money deprogramming, because I think it's been drilled into our heads, especially when you use that B word, budget, right? And where once you make the plan, like you better not change it or you're a bad person. And you're a monster and you're lazy and like all these ugly things, like all these like just mean, nasty things you're saying to yourself.
For real.
And so when we tell you change your plan and change it for whatever reason you want, I feel like a lot of people were like, what? You know what I mean? Like if you had that in your heart, I think it might be because you have this moralistic approach to your plan where you say, once I make the plan, it's set in stone. And if I change it, I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
And I want to flip that on its head. If you don't make changes, you're still not a bad person. Okay. But if you don't make changes, I think you might actually not be lining up your money with how you want to spend your money as much as you are if you do make changes, right? Because life changes along the way, your priorities change along the way, your circumstances change along the way, and your plan should change along with it, with the caveat that you are weighing the trade-offs with your eyes wide open. And that's where only working with the money you have and giving every dollar a job comes in.
Yeah. Sometimes folks will ask in a workshop, hey, is there a report that will show me how much I'm overspending based on my target?
Yeah.
And there isn't. And I'm like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Don't worry about spending more than what that target is or assigning more.
Yeah.
It's what you actually spent. And so if that target isn't lining up, change the target.
Right.
Match that up with your reality.
Yeah. And I really just feel like we need to get away from this aversion to it that you might have really deep down inside. And the best way to do it is just to practice it. Because I think what you're going to find if you do change your plan by moving money between categories in order to get something that you want, you're going to find that like, you're going to feel good about that decision because you weighed the trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
And this is like, it all ties together. Finding the money first is a huge part of this too. That process of just looking at your category before you spend. And then if you don't have enough, moving money from other categories, do that. And And you'll find that it's not a moral decision. Like this is not a moral decision. It is just, what do you want, right?
Yeah.
And what do you want your life to look like, and making sure that your money goes along with what you want, not with, a plan that you made 3 weeks ago or 6 months ago that's not lining up with who you are today. And that is better than this like tight white knuckle hold on to something that isn't working anymore.
All right, let's end there, Ben.
Okay.
This has been fantastic.
Yeah, this is fun.
Those were 7 habits I could talk about all day.
I
practically did.
I feel like every single episode of Budget Nerds is it's really revolving around these. And so it's kind of fun to just lay it all out. So I think it's good.
All right, but before we let you go, we got to share a couple more YNAB wins.
Let's do it.
My win comes from YKKY. And this was a comment on the Ask the Nerds episode. I think that was that a live? No, that wasn't a live one.
No, I don't think it was.
But it was over a year ago.
Over a year.
Anywho, here's the win. Guys, I just finished our reconciliation, and I have to share a YNAB win with you. Nice. And it's a weird one. We got to 48 days age of money, and it feels good, but not as good as learning the lesson of reconciling monthly without fail. I had to make so many adjustments and jump through so many hoops today just to get us back on track. And I did not want to do a fresh start as I want the data. Totally get that. I really want to see how we are doing overall in, say, 6 months or so, but we missed over 10 days of transactions, so no more avoiding it. I sat down and did it today, and boy, does it feel good to know that you might have screwed up, but not as badly as you thought. And in fact, you are doing rather well. And all you need to do is stay consistent. Thank you so much for all you are doing. You are changing our finances and lives with every episode. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And congratulations to you on that reconciliation, because that's not always easy. I've missed some time. And now we gotta
10 days
figure it out. We gotta get back on track
compared to most stories I've heard. So,
no.
Right. And it can get
3 months.
I really think this is powerful, because you said it wasn't as bad as you thought. Like, it can get really scary because you kind of build it up in your head. Like, oh, this is going to like blow a huge hole in my plan. But totally. I think most of the time it's actually not as bad as you think. So just get to it. It's good. All right. I have one from Laura Rith. That's the username on the Many Goals One Plan episode. They wrote, I have a small YNAB win to share. I used to do my expense tracking like once a month or even less, not knowing how much I spent on dining out until I had already spent $600. Yikes. So this is like the report card thing we're talking about, right? Now that I'm categorizing my expenses every day and knowing what I'm doing as I do it, find the money first, right? It's really helped me to make conscious decisions. Not only that, but it's helped me catch a few things that went wrong with my card, like a duplicated transaction I had to contact the company to remove, and a subscription I really thought I canceled after a free trial coming through. Yeah, we get that. Love YNAB and stare at my budget way too much.
No, that's not possible.
Yeah, so this is exactly what we were talking about, right? Where if you just kind of shorten the amount of time between when you're spending and when you're reviewing the spending, you can actually make adjustments more in real time, and it actually changes your behavior. So that's really cool. Good job.
Friends, thanks for sticking with us for another episode. It's been fun as always, and we'll see you in 2 more weeks. Until then, happy YNABing.
Happy YNABing.